Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to the Bootcamp Blueprint. I'm your host, Jono from Fitness Education Online, and I'm very excited because we have an absolute rock star on the other end from the complete other end of the world. Now, a little bit about this person. She's the general manager at Stevenson Fitness, and she's been that since 2010. Now, if you haven't heard of Stevenson Fitness, it's one of the top independent clubs in the USA, if not the world. They've got over 1,500 members there. And most impressively, they actually get a regular NPS score of above 80. So if you're familiar with the NPS or the Net Promoter, anything above 50 is good. If you can get above 50, that's pretty good. Anything above 70 is considered world class. So if you can hit 70, you're a world class gym. Stevenson Fitness actually has 80, which is very, very impressive. And a lot of it obviously comes down to the general manager. Now, on top of that as well, this person is an URSA presenter. Now, if you're not aware of URSA, that's the #1 convention in the world for fitness business. So to present at that, you have to know a thing or two. One down point about this person, she's actually a big fan of the Duke University basketball team. Now, if you're not from America, you might not know much about them, but they're not a bad team, but they're just not as good as the other team in North Carolina there. But anyways, let me introduce, without further ado, the one and only Marissa Hoff. Marissa, how are you?
I am fantastic. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. And I'm super excited to be here with you and all of your listeners.
Awesome. I can't wait to get into this because this is one of my favorite topics in the industry because we all know you can be the best trainer in the world, but if you don't have the other skills that come with running a business, you're going to struggle. So that's what we're going to cover here. Just before we get into that, Marissa, I like to start all my podcasts off with a quote or a mantra that inspires you or fires you up. Have you got one for us?
Absolutely. Actually, it's what inspires all of us here at Stevenson Fitness. And that's our mission statement, which is everyone leaves Stevenson Fitness feeling better than when they arrived. And
Wow.
so that's not just our members. Obviously, we're all focusing on our clients and our members, but that's our staff. That's any vendor that walks in through the door. That's anyone that calls for a telephone inquiry. So we really feel strongly about making sure that people leave feeling better than when they arrived. And that's what drives all of us here at the club.
Wow, I love that. I'm actually going to consider, Marissa, bringing that onto my personal mantra. You know, anytime you come into contact with me, I want you to leave feeling better. So after this
Yeah.
podcast, Marissa, I want you to leave feeling better, and to all our listeners,
I'm
after
already
listening to
feeling
this,
better.
awesome. Oh, and same as me. You know, just before we got on the podcast, you introduced me to Chris there, so I'm excited and I feel good. But hey, let's dive into it, Marissa. Your topic that you spoke on URSA about, I believe it was onboarding your front desk staff. I think that's probably a good place for us to start. Now, if you're listening to this, and even if you don't own a big gym chain and you don't have a big staff, this still will be important moving forward with your business, or even right now, even if you're the only person in your studio or your boot camp, you're going to need to know these things, how to welcome people, how to answer the phone, all those sort of things there. So kick us off, Marissa. I'm happy for you to start wherever you want to start, whether it's what you do there at Stevenson Fitness or let's go. Let's get into it.
Well, let's talk a little bit about why the welcome desk is so important. So in our club, the welcome desk is right by the front door. It may be one or two staff members. It might even be our member services team. But regardless of whether you are a one operator studio or you're greeting people on the phone, that first impression that someone has about your business is the single most important thing that you have to do. And that even, speaks to the website, obviously, but that one-on-one interaction that someone is going to have with you or someone on your staff is really going to determine the success of your business moving forward. So for us, there's that initial impression of the business. And then following that, for many of our 1,500 members, sometimes that welcome desk person is the only interaction that a member might have with someone at the club. Obviously, we'd love for our people to be participating in private training or small group training or even group X. But when that's not the case, then the only time they're talking to someone is a staff person at the welcome desk. And the power that they have with our members and prospects is completely invaluable. And it really is. And we tell them this all the time. the most important job at the club.
Yes, I agree with that 100%. Now, I think there's two pathways we can go here. We can either go down the phone pathway or we can go down the front desk pathway. Let's start with the front desk pathway. Now, I agree with you 100%, and I can even take it that step further. So I'm actually training at a bigger facility at the moment. It's Crunch Fitness. So you've probably heard of that over there in the USA as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, cool, cool. So that's where I train. And I do hire a personal trainer, but at the moment I'm not training with her. So the only interaction I do have is with the front desk staff. And that's even extra important with me because I work online. So not only is that going to potentially be like the only face-to-face interaction I have with someone at the club, that could potentially be the only face-to-face interaction I have with someone during that day. So for someone like me, that's enough to keep me at the club. If I go into that club and I don't know that person, I'm sort of like, I need a bit more social interaction in my life. I'm going to go and train somewhere else where people actually interact with me. So I love that point there. So let's start with the front desk. And I guess there's 2 points we can go as well. We can go with new members or we can go with returning members. Any preference with where you'd want to start, Marissa?
Absolutely. Let's digress a little bit because what you just said brought up to mind a couple stories, and I'm not going to share all of them, but if you were at my Marissa presentation or if you've heard me talk before, your example of being at home and working from home and maybe having that be the only interaction is so often the case. Maybe it was about a month ago, we had one of our staff members, her name was Alexis, and she was on shift, and one of our members came in with a gift bag for her. And he said, I have a present for you. And it was actually not a member that she knew very well. So she was a little bit surprised. And she said, wow, for me, tell me a little bit, what is this all about? And he said, well, yesterday was my birthday. And at the club, we have a big birthday mirror where we list everybody's birthday for that day. We have birthday stickers that our members will wear so that other people can wish them a happy birthday, and a birthday hat. Those are recent additions. And obviously our club management software will alert us when someone checks in to the fact that it's their birthday. And so Alexis wished him a happy birthday, as we all do when we see someone whose birthday it is. And he said, yesterday was my birthday, and there were only 2 people who wished me a happy birthday. One was my boss, and I hate him. And the other was you. And that made such a difference to my day. It really made my birthday. And she was so touched by that. And that's just one example of the power that we have when we interact with people in a favorable way. So for us, we have a mantra for the welcome desk, and it's a warm welcome, a fond farewell, and names 100% of the time. So one of the things that we've worked on, and we're still, by the way, we're not perfect. We're always working on this. One of the things that we really know is that there is a difference between being polite and being enthusiastic. So, someone can walk in the front door and, get checked in, and you might say, have a great workout. Or, like, oh, hi, hello. But being enthusiastic and saying, hey, how you doing, Chris? So great to see you. What are you working on today? That enthusiasm makes a huge difference. And then interacting in a way that really conveys more than just a transactional kind of thing. So if I say to someone, what are you working on today? And then get a sense of how their day is and really go to one of our primary core values, which is build real relationships. And our front desk staff, our welcome desk staff does such a great job of that when really going beyond the polite. And it's great to be polite. Don't get me wrong. We definitely want polite, but to go above that with a little bit of enthusiasm and genuine care for someone, that's what makes a huge difference. So that's definitely when someone enters the door, whether it's a member or not, that warm welcome is important. Names 100% of the time, of course, is really important. So obviously we have our software like everyone else does. If you're someone that's just checking in because you're an independent club where it's just you and someone else, you still want to use the name. And that's one of the things that sometimes with our welcome desk staff, it can be a little tricky when, for instance, it's a name that they don't know how to pronounce.
Mm.
So at first, we would have our welcome desk people say, "Oh, I just don't know how to pronounce that. I just feel awkward about that." And we had one member in particular. Her name was Jeonghwa. She's Korean, and her name is spelled, it's like JEOUNG-HWA. And our welcome desk staff was having a hard time remembering it. And we trained them to say, ask, because it makes such a difference. So even if you've seen that person before, don't be afraid to say, "I'm so sorry. Remind me again how you pronounce your name." Okay, Jeonghwa, Jeonghwa. Well, about a month after she joined, she came in the door, we said her name correctly, and I happened to be standing there, and she's like, "You guys are the best. No one ever says my name because they're afraid to try it, but you guys do it, and it makes it so special to come in." So that's one of those little things that we always train our welcome desk staff on. And then we talk about a technique that we called FACE. So it's FACE. And that's a way for our welcome desk people to get better about remembering names. So F stands for focus. So you and I might meet, and I might ask you your name, and then 5 seconds later, I'm on to the next step, and I totally forget what your name is. I'm actually infamous for that.
Oh.
So we tell them to focus. When you ask someone's name, focus on the name. And then if you're not sure about the name, or if you want a clever way to remember, you might ask. So, "Oh, your name is Jeonghwa. What's the origin of that name?" Or, "How do you spell that?" So it gives you a little bit more information. And then C would be the connection. So sometimes it's a mnemonic, or sometimes you just say it over and over. Jeonghwa, she's young. And, whatever it is that's going to help you make a connection with the name to the face. And lastly, it's execute it. So you're going to say that name again. So it could be that you have a conversation, whether it's a prospect or a member that you've never met before. You've focused, you've asked, you've connected, and then lastly, you have to use that name again. Wow, it was so great talking to you, Jeonghwa, today. It was great to know more about your kids. Have a great time in Zumba today. So those little techniques are something that we use to train and to onboard and to help our welcome desk staff do a better job of connecting and using those names 100% of the time.
Wow. So much good information there, and on all different levels. Like, I think you've just given me some good life skills there, Marissa.
Well, like I said, I'm terrible with that too. So I need to definitely be using FACE on a regular basis.
Well, this is the thing. Even let's go back a step and go about names. Like, I like to do a lot of reading on this matter, and the amount that I've read that, like, somebody's name is the most beautiful word to them they can hear. And I feel that for myself. There's a big difference between someone saying, "Hey, have a good day," or "Hey, Jono, have a good day." Like, I could hear someone say Jono all day. I'm not going to get sick of it. It makes me feel important. It makes me feel like this person actually cares about me. So that's a huge part of it there, and at all different levels. Because then let's even go back, even if you're not working at the front desk, hey, maybe you're a trainer working at a gym. There's a big difference between walking around the gym. "Oh, hey, buddy, how are you?" "Oh, hey, how are you going?" To, "Hey,
yes.
Marissa, how are you?" "Hey, Jono, how are you?" Right? If you're a group fitness instructor, you're working in the gym, there's a big difference between, "Oh, hey, guys, it's so great to see you all again," and, "Hey, Marissa, how are you going?" And, "Hey, Jono, how are you going?" So the name is a huge thing there. And we're all guilty of forgetting the name, right? We're all guilty of asking that person's name, and then I do it at parties all the time, It's the same as you, right? You meet someone at a party, what's their name? Oh, 5 seconds later, I've forgotten. And a lot of it is the focus, right? We're on autopilot when we do it. So I love that focus. And I also love the ask, especially the origin. That's just such a good, easy way to get it back in your head, especially if it's an interesting name. So I love that there, and the connection and execute as well. And I'll just give a little bit of something that I use as well that our audience might find handy. So I always go in, I've got a list of go-to questions. I read a lot of books on networking and that sort of thing. And I always have a few go-to questions that I can ask off the bat when I first meet someone to have a deeper connection. So an easy one is obviously finding out what they do for work, right? Super easy. But a lot of the time it ends there. "Oh, so Marissa, what do you do?" "Oh, I manage a gym." "Oh, cool. How's that?" "Yeah, it's good. I love it." There's no sort of connection. But there's a few questions that you can ask that go a little bit deeper, right? So one I like to ask is, "Oh, awesome. That's cool. Hey, I've got to ask, how did you get into that?" And then that can start a bit of a story there, right? Or another one I like to ask is, oh,
Right.
cool. Hey, I got to ask, what's the best part you like about that job there? Right. And then once again, it gets them telling a bit of a story there. Oh, cool. Hey, I've got to ask, I've got a young friend or a son. I don't, but if I did have
Yeah.
a nephew or someone like that, they're thinking of getting in that field. I've got to ask, what's one tip you would give to someone getting into that field there? And then that will start talking as well. And though I've got many of these questions, right, that I can
Right.
just rattle off at any time that are just sort of embedded in my head here to get someone talking. And I find once you can get them
Right.
talking like that, there's just so much of a better connection. So I love everything you've sent there. Now that's sort of ticked off a few boxes, I guess, on the returning members now. All right. Let's go and talk about the new members. What's the process there? Somebody walks into the facility, Marissa. What happens?
So one of the things that we role play, especially when we're onboarding our welcome desk staff, is what we call the member services handoff. So our people are considered member services, not sales team.
Love
And
it.
they're often, our new prospects are greeted by our welcome desk. So the very first thing that we train and retrain is to express enthusiasm. So it's very typical. Again, this is the difference between polite and over the top. So someone walks in and says, hi, I want to know about your training packages. Oh, yes, I'd be happy to help you with that information. Or, oh, can you tell me a little bit about your rates? Oh, yes, we can get that for you. That's what we're trying to avoid. Polite is good, but the first thing we want to say is express enthusiasm. Awesome. I'm so glad you came in today. Hi, my name is Marissa. What's your name? So it's express enthusiasm and then exchange names. With our welcome desk staff, we don't take anything for granted. So how to shake someone's hand, where we wear the name tag is really important. So our name tag is always by our shoulder on the right side because we shake hands with the right hand, and that immediately leads the eye to your name tag. It's a firm grip, it's a smile, it's eye contact. And it's one of those things that those of us who have been around for a while might take for granted, but with some of our younger welcome desk staff, that's something that we have to practice a lot. So it's enthusiasm, exchanging of names, and then the third thing is assuring them that you're going to get them the information that they need. So we know that sometimes people come into the club and your training studio or your facility with a little bit of apprehension about this exchange. Obviously, not everyone loves fitness the way we do. And so there's a little bit of fear. A, am I going to be sold? And B, was this on your Facebook page that someone put it up recently that said, what are you afraid of when joining a gym? Oh no, it was Emily from My Zone. She just put that on her Facebook page. And there were so many comments about people feeling judged or feeling like they weren't fit enough. And those of us in the profession forget that. So the reassurance and the enthusiasm is so important when you first meet someone. So you're going to say, we're happy to get you all that information. And then if I'm the welcome desk attendant, I might say, what I'm going to do is introduce you over to Chris, and he's going to get you all that information. And then I walk over to the member services desk and I say, Chris, this is Jono. He's interested in becoming a member of the club. So we're planting that seed right away. We're not saying he wants prices. We're not saying she's looking for our rates. We say she's interested in becoming a member of the club. So those are 5 steps that we have to practice. And it's not just during the onboarding. It might be, on a Saturday afternoon, I'm sitting in the office and I'm going to go up front and say, hey, pretend I'm a prospect. What are you going to do? And we practice and we practice.
Wow, love that. I'm going to do a quick summary because I've been jotting down so many notes there. Once again, so many good info. I'll do a quick summary just to make sure I've got it, but also for my listeners as well. So the first part of it is enthusiasm. There's a big difference between, yes, I'll be happy to get that to you, and awesome. Hey, I'm so excited that you're looking to get started. So I love that side of it there because that would be enough to get me. If I've got we'll go 2 ways, right? If there's 2 gyms that are exactly the same, and one person's polite, hey, they're not bad. It's not going to turn me off. But the other person is, you can probably tell I'm a bit of an enthusiastic person myself, right?
Right.
So if someone greets me with that enthusiasm, I'm in, right? But I'll even go further. even if one gym is maybe not as nice as a facility than the other, or maybe it's even a little bit more expensive than the other one, but I get greeted with that enthusiasm, that's enough to get me in there. So you'd even have me at step one. So I love
Yeah.
that point there. The second point was exchange names. Did I have that right?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
So once again, super important. Like the minute you say my name, I'm also in. That could be enough there, right? If there's two salespeople or member service people or whatever it may be, one of them uses my name, one of them doesn't. I'm just so much more connected with the person that uses my name there. So I love that. Now, was the next point, this is where I got a little bit confused. Was this the assuring point or was this more?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So we'll even go
Yeah.
back a step there, just with the whole exchanging names and enthusiasm. Important that we tick all these boxes. So we get their name, but we also have our name badge in the right place. We shake their hand firmly. We have eye contact. All those things there that, you know, we may take for granted, but some other people may not have those skills. So just important to, if we may have some staff that don't have those skills, just make sure that they've got them. From there, we move into the assuring stage, which is great. Marissa, we can definitely help you with that. I can't wait to help you. Let me introduce you to Chris, who can help you.
Correct.
Awesome. And then, was the introducing the fourth stage? Introducing
Yes,
to
and
Chris?
then the last thing was planting the seed. So those 5 steps.
Love it. Awesome. Now, let's change directions a bit here, Marissa. So now we've got that front desk staff down packed. What about the phone? What happens if someone calls up about Stevenson Fitness? Run me through from there. What's the procedure?
So the procedure is actually exactly the same. And one of the things that I think we have talked a lot about in the fitness industry is when people come in, the only thing they know how to ask is the price, correct? They might not say, how are you going to help me lower my cholesterol? How are you going to help me with my confidence when I go to my 20-year reunion? Those are all the things that they're probably feeling inside, but the only thing they know how to say is, what's the price? So when someone calls, it's the very exact same thing. So for us, the greeting when you call on the phone, again, has to go from polite to enthusiastic. So for us, and we actually just changed it, so I'll tell you a little side story about that. Our greeting is, it's a great day at Stevenson Fitness. How can I help you? Or
Love
it's a
that.
great day at Stevenson Fitness. This is Marissa. We used to say all of that. And we just were talking with Bill McBride, who's one of our mentors in the industry with active wellness. And he said, it has to be 10 words or less, or people stop listening to your greeting. So we decided to shorten it. And instead of saying the how can I help you, we just do the name part. It's a great day at Stevenson Fitness. This is Marissa.
Wow.
And then they might say that question. Oh, hi, can you tell me what your rates are? And then you do the same thing. You're expressing enthusiasm, right?
I've got an idea, Marissa. Should we do a practice call now?
That'd be fantastic.
If I pretend I'm a customer, I'll role play. I'll try and be as generic as possible. But I think that could be cool. Are you ready?
Okay, great. Yeah.
All right. Ring, ring. Ring, ring.
It's a great day at Stevenson Fitness. This is Marissa.
Oh, hi, Marissa. I'm interested in checking out the gym. Just wanted to know, how much is membership there?
Oh, that's awesome. I'm so glad you called today. Who am I speaking with?
My name's Jono.
Hi, Jono. This is Marissa. As I said, we can absolutely get you all the information that you need. I'd love to pass you on to one of the members in our service department. May I put you on hold while I have you talk to Chris?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, Jono, just a minute. I'll put you on hold. Click. So similar kind of thing. We're going to express enthusiasm. We're going to exchange names. And then when I see Chris at the desk, I'm going to say, I have Jono on the phone. He's interested in finding more about pricing. And then that's a completely different script for our salespeople. But for our welcome desk people, it's enthusiasm, reassure them that they've made the right decision in calling you and that you're going to get them the information that they need.
Wow. Love that. Once again, that's enough just to get me in there, right? If I called someone up and I have that response there, I'm going in. And not saying the polite response is bad. It's okay. but that's the reason why your NPS score is 80. So I love that there, Marissa. Hey,
Thank you.
you mentioned Bill McBride, and I do have a question I like to ask all my podcast guests there. Now, you're
Yes.
obviously a mentor to a lot of people there, Marissa. You've got the staff underneath you that you help and you teach these people here. You're also a presenter at URSA, so you teach other people that go to URSA these skills here. I've got to ask, you've mentioned Bill McBride. Apart from that, do you have any mentors that you use there personally or at Stevens Fitnesses? And also, if you could recommend some of my listeners, if they're interested in this side of things here, who they should be following, what books they should be reading, what podcasts they should be listening to, if you can just rattle off a few names for us there.
Absolutely. So Bill McBride is definitely one of our mentors. We've been friends with him for a long time. We've called him at all times for random questions on how do you handle this? How do you handle that? What would you say to this? The other person that I really enjoy talking to, who has been a dear friend and mentor to us as well, is Paul Bedford, who is the retention guru out of the UK. He's such a genuine guy. And if you follow him on LinkedIn, he's doing these lunchtime lessons that are little tidbits on things you can do for retention. And sometimes that's all we have the time to digest. I can read like a quick little 2-sentence blurb, and it's going to make an impact on my business right away. I love books, I love podcasts, but we don't always have the time for that. Paul is doing a great job of just putting them into little segments that can be super helpful. So that's another one I'd recommend. And then if anyone attended my URSA session, you'd know that one book that we use for every single person that we hire. So our onboarding, whether you are a personal trainer, a Group X instructor, or a welcome desk person, or anything in between, is going to be the same for a week. Everyone learns certain skills in customer service, in facility, in things from luxury language to body language, to everything about our culture. Who is Stevenson Fitness? What are our core values? What's our core purpose? So everyone goes through that. And part of that onboarding is reading the book Fred Factor. And I don't know if you're familiar with Fred Factor. It's written by Mark Sanborn. And it's a book about, it's written by a writer about his postman who goes above and beyond in helping him. So he travels a lot, and the postman introduces himself, and he makes such an impact on this gentleman, Mark Sanborn, that he decides to write a book about it called the Fred Factor. And we read that with every single person that we hire. And it's become a little bit of a mantra for us. So when you Fred someone, you go above and beyond. Or if we walk into Starbucks and we notice that there's a mess on the counter and we kind of clean it up, we're going above and beyond and fretting someone. So it's really interesting to see the response from our 18-year-old welcome desk attendees to our Group X instructors that have been all over the fitness industry for a long time. They really get inspired by Fred, and it's been a great book for teaching customer service and how to go above and beyond. So that's one book. A second book, I'll give you a couple more books and then we'll talk about podcasts. A second book that I'm on this productivity time management kind of thing right now. Eat the Frog for me was super helpful. So let me see if I don't have the author here, but maybe in your show notes you'll be able to find it.
Brian
Yes.
Tracy? Yes.
Yes. So I was one of those people who started the day answering all my emails and then getting to work, right? Because we feel productive. We feel like we're getting stuff done. And we're really working on what's the frog today. It might be working on some big project that we've been putting off because it's so cumbersome. But if I spend an hour or two every morning when I'm most productive, you're going to make a much bigger dent on working the things that are important. And that's something that I struggle with. And another book that's about productivity that has really helped me lately is The One Thing. So that's, again, it's The Surprisingly Simple Truth Behind Extraordinary Results by Gary Keller. And he talks about what's the one thing you're going to do today to drive your business forward. we probably, especially those of us who run small businesses, our to-do list is endless, right? We do the marketing, we do the training, we do the teaching, we do the selling, all these things that we could be doing, plus the hundreds of emails that come in. But if you start your day with the one thing that's going to help drive your business forward, that's going to make a huge difference. So those are my 3 books. The one that's on my list that I haven't started that is supposed to be phenomenal is Traction. Same kind of thing. It's execution in the things that you do. And we got that one from the folks at Discover Strength in Minneapolis, Luke Carlson. I don't know if you've met him before, but
Yes.
they do a great job with getting stuff done. So those are my books. And then as far as podcasts, obviously your listeners are already sold on your podcast and you're doing a great job so far. So the second podcast that your friends down under probably already listened to are the Fitness Business Podcast with Chantal. We're
Yes.
big fans. I actually, you and I were both in San Diego last week, right? So it's a 3.5 hour commute for me. I sat there in the car and enjoyed my commute because I listened to 5 different podcasts on the way, and it was so great. My commute here at home is like less than 5 minutes, so I don't do a lot of podcasting on my commute. So that is one thing that I highly recommend. And then lastly, something that's really making a difference for me lately is I joined a Rex Roundtable. I know JT runs one in Australia, but I just joined in November a Rex Roundtable here for general managers that's been really helpful. So dialoguing with other people about things that are going on, about solutions, about things that are working in other clubs. And we have a Slack channel just for our GM group. And we're constantly posting in there like, oh, what sales and marketing tricks are you guys using this month? Or, hey, we just are installing Fitness on Demand. So I reached out to my fellow Rex Roundtable people and said, hey, anyone using this? What's it look like? How is the install? And it's been a great resource for us. So that's another thing that I would recommend. And of course, conferences. Everyone has to go to URSA. I hope you're attending Filex in 2 weeks because it's a great conference. Chris Stevenson has 4 different presentations, so hopefully you'll have a chance to hear him at Filex. Not to mention all the other awesome people that I'm going to be so jealous that I don't get to hear.
Awesome. Wow. That's a amazing summary there, or an amazing list there. That's going to be a full-time. I think we've given our listeners enough content for the rest of the year, but I'll summarize that. So in terms of mentors, Bill McBride and Paul Bedford. So follow them on social. They're both popular speakers as well. I don't think they're coming to Filex actually, but if you
no,
yeah,
they're neither one of us coming this time. They have been,
yep,
but not this time.
yeah. But if you're in Australia, I'm sure you'll see them somewhere, or travel to the US. They're going to be at URSA. They're going to be at IDEA. So very good people to listen to. In terms of books, we've got The Fred Factor by Mark Sanborn. We've got Eat the Frog, Brian Tracy. We've got The One Thing, Gary Keller. I'm going to put all them in the show notes anyway. Oh, and also Traction as well was the book that Marissa's going to start reading there. In terms of podcast, this is obviously the best one in the world, the Bootcamp Blueprint. You already know that, right? Chantel's is obviously number 2 as well, the Fitness Business Podcast. So that's, and I'm a huge, huge fan of that as well. If you're listening to this, definitely listen to this. And also just in-person things, roundtables, masterminds, conferences, great way to network and get ahead. So thank you for all those tips there, Marissa. Now, we're coming to the end of the podcast here, but just a couple questions I'd like to finish off with. Now, at Stevenson Fitness, you're quite active on social media anyway. Are you happy if my listeners go and follow you there on Facebook and Instagram and check out what's going on at Stevenson Fitness?
I would love that. We'd love to have you guys come in. And if you guys have any tips for us, we'd love to hear them. So follow us and interact and comment. And we'd love to have some folks from down under be a part of that.
Awesome. And in person, if anyone's in California there, are they encouraged to attend Stevenson Fitness?
Please come visit us. We are closest to LAX, and we're about, maybe 25 miles, depending on traffic. I don't know how long that would take, but we definitely love having visitors. We had someone from China. After URSA, we always get a slew of people. We had someone from China. We had John from URSA who lives in, where does he live?
New Zealand.
He lives in New Zealand. So we love having visitors. So anyone who wants to stop by, please do.
And I recommend that if you want to see what a good facility is like. Yeah, you can read books, listen to podcasts. We can just freaking go in and see what they do there. So I think especially if you're traveling, right, you probably want to work out anyway if you're traveling. It's a good opportunity to try out a different gym. So if you're in that LA area, check out Stevenson Fitness. Now, Marissa, that's all we've got time for today. But just before I leave you to it, is there anything I forgot? Is there anything I should have asked you that didn't, or anything you want to leave our listeners with?
I think really the most important thing, we always put it down to 3 factors. You have to hire well, and we didn't really get into that very much, but we definitely encourage you asking questions that are about your core values and your mission statement and core purpose. And then I mentioned briefly the onboarding. That's something where we spend a minimum of 2 weeks really getting everyone onboarded. Everyone at the welcome desk takes every single class that we offer, trains with all our trainers, participates in small group training, and really has to have a lot of knowledge before they go on the floor. And then the third part is just constant leading. So role playing, coaching, asking, because that's one of the things that people feel like, oh, I hired, maybe I onboarded, but the leading part is the thing that often is missing, and that's key.
Wow. I love all 3 of those things. We'll even do a quick summary there. So hiring well, pretty straightforward, right? You got to hire someone good for the task, but that's only a third of it. If you don't onboard them properly, it's probably not going to be ideal. So spend that time onboarding, but it's constant leadership. Yeah, you can hire well. Yeah, you can onboard well. But if it's just like, all right, see you later, bye. I've taught them everything they need to know. I'm just going to do nothing from now on in. It's probably going to be a hard slog. So I love all 3 of those things there. So thank you for your time, Marissa.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. Go Blue Devils.
Yeah, they're playing tomorrow, right?
Friday, our time, yes.
Okay. I'll wish them good luck so that North Carolina can beat them in the final.
I love it. I have them both going.